There are so many lies we learn about dreams. Some of these lies might sound like folks are really trying to help us out. Remember what we talked about before? That lies can sometimes be dressed up like wisdom. And if we don't learn how to use our discernment to tell the difference, we might just start building our lives around those lies. We settle, or we might even sit something out. Our imaginations can actually start to shrink. We stop even questioning whether there is more available for us. We forget our skills or how highly capable we really are because somewhere along the way we learned that wanting more was unrealistic or even selfish. You even might have learned that wanting more can be dangerous, but what if one of the most powerful questions you could ever ask yourself is this: what's next? Not the next that comes from a position of pressure or from shame, like what you're doing is not enough, but from possibility. Welcome back to How to Dream. I'm Deedee Cummings, and this is episode 4, The Lie You Learned. Today, I'm doing something a little different. I'm bringing in my daughter, Broadway star Kayla Pecchioni. And can I just stop for one surreal moment and say I can't even believe that those 4 words all go together? Broadway star Kayla Pecchioni, because I recently overheard her talking about her journey to Broadway and how much of that journey she attributes to the make-a-way mindset. And I knew immediately this conversation belongs right here. In the first 3 episodes of How to Dream, we spent time talking about what happens when life gets so heavy that you can't even begin to dream yet. We validated that you are allowed to want more. That means we declared it a truth, a fact. You are allowed to want more. And we talked about the importance of protecting your hope because this world will try to convince you that you can live without it. And now today I want to talk about one of the lies that keeps people from moving forward. It's the lie that says this is enough, even when you know deep down in your bones you've outgrown whatever this is. It's the lie that says don't ask for more or take any risk, and absolutely do not question what's next. And sometimes I've learned that the lie is not always that you can't dream. The lie is that you should stop where you are. You have dreamed and now you have enough. Don't be ungrateful. And that is why I wanted you to hear from Kayla directly, because her journey is such a beautiful example of what it looks like to be grateful for one chapter in your life and still ask for the next one. Kayla, my beautiful baby butterfly, welcome to How to Dream. All right, I want to start right here. I overheard you recently talking about your journey to Broadway, and one of the things you said that really stayed with me is that when you graduated from college, you were doing exactly what so many musical theater graduates do. You were doing the theme parks and regional theater. And once you had mastered that, I basically said to you, okay, we're done with that. What's next? Can you tell us about that story?
Yeah, hi, mommy.
Hi, babe.
um, yeah, well, you said that so many musical theater grads take that path. I'm not so sure of that. In musical theater, like everyone has their own journey to get there, and a lot of people do think that we all take the exact same steps. I don't necessarily think that's true. When I was in school, I didn't have a lot of experience in the community around me with theater, and school kind of exposed me to working out of state and getting these summer jobs that could supplement me while I'm off of, my time at school. And so I started with these small jobs like tiny regional theaters. I worked at a dinner playhouse, as you know. and I worked for a tiny little like podunk theme park that was cute and quaint. But when I was at that theme park, the I guess you would call her our choreographer or our director, the person staging all of the theme park shows, she gave us the best piece of advice in the world, which was, what we were doing there at the theme park, the grueling work, the long hours, the roasting in the sun, the wearing character costumes. I was Ricky the raccoon for 20 minutes a day in 100-degree weather.
Yes.
We would do 5 shows a day in 100-degree weather. She would tell us that those elements of the job and those like grueling parts of the work were building the foundation and the backbone for the future of the work that we were going to do. So I really respected doing that kind of like grueling bottom line work. And from there, I felt really comfortable with my work in the theme parks and I loved it. I had great friends there. And so I did another one the next year. And then I remember I came to you, and I think cruise ships were kind of my next venture that I thought, this is the next level up from there. And I said to you something along the lines of like, I love working for the company, the theme park company that I was working for. And, if they had offered me another job, that I would do it. And you were like, no, we have to move on. It's so clear. It's secondary to the advice that the person staging our shows gave us about the foundations of work and building the backbone. It was the next piece of great advice that I got. And I think those two pieces together helped prepare me for the success that I have now. But yeah, so you said that was not going to be a lifelong career, let's say. And so I went off to ships. And, some people get really stir crazy on ships. A lot of people can't handle it well, being away for 9 months at a time and removed from your community and all those things. Well, I happen to thrive on the ships. I really liked having that personal space. And I really liked being able to figure out who I was. We were traveling the world. Like, it worked really well for me. And so I did 2 of those. And then I came back to you after the second one. I think I moved back home for a little bit. And a friend called me, Adam called me, and said, hey, I have this place in New York City. Do you want to move up here? We've got a room for you. And I was so scared to take that leap. And you were like, get out of my house, essentially. You pushed me out of the nest to take that leap. I moved to New York City. 3 days later, we know this, you and I know the story. 3 days later, I book Radio City, and I keep escalating and leveling up my career from there. And it's all because you told me that I could push the boundaries and honestly expect more of myself, which is something that I think without your advice, I wouldn't have been able to see how far I could reach.
Oh, that's beautiful, baby. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I feel a little weird asking you some of these questions, like the next one, because I do know the answer to these questions. So I have to remind myself that we're sharing this with an audience who needs to hear your journey. When you look back now, what was your original dream? Was it always Broadway, or did the dream keep becoming more clear as you kept growing?
That's a great question. That's a great question, Mom.
Well, thank you.
It is.
I kind of like to think I'm a little bit good at this.
Well, I've done so many interviews, but that's a good one. And you actually, you're the perfect person to ask me this because you can kind of collaborate on this with me. It's so strange as I get older and we all get older, we start to lose kind of those pieces of childhood, those memories. Yeah. And I have strong memories of having an attachment to musical theater works of art. Like, you took me to see Chicago in movie theaters, and I remember that kind of changed my perspective on like what field, or it just opened up a new level of fields, because I had already been a dancer for years, but I had no clue that you could like kind of sing and dance and act until then.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think I was putting these pieces together along the way. I don't think when I was younger, I thought I'm going to be on Broadway, because I don't think I had a clear concept of what Broadway was yet. But I knew that I liked performing. And so I think the pieces fell together as I continued to pursue education.
And what did it do to have someone in your corner who said, you know, you did great, you're doing great. Now what's next?
It is the ultimate motivator. My personality and my outlook on life is very, I think I have the tendency to say to myself, stay somewhere safe and stay somewhere known. And I think without a mother like you, I would have, my personality type would have kept me in things that are familiar. Maybe I would have stayed in Kentucky. Maybe I would have stayed working at theme parks. Maybe I would have stayed working on cruise ships because it was great money and could support a lifestyle at that time. But without you as that extra motivator telling me that I had more to give the world, that is, it was game changing, because I don't think that and honestly, to this day, I don't think that I necessarily naturally have that instinct to keep pushing and furthering myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think what furthers myself these days is, or what I've seen happen over the course of my lifetime and career, are the people around me, the community that I've built around me, continuously telling me that I have more to give.
Yeah.
And that has given me the affirmation to keep going. Without you, without my strong friendships that I've built over the last decade, some of those people being best friends from my very first theme park, without those voices, I don't think I would ever be where I am now.
Yeah, I completely agree that this is why it is so important that you pay attention to the circle that you have around you, because that very reason, you if you're around people who are content, and don't keep asking those life questions, what more is there for me, then you
Yeah.
won't ask those life questions. And you said something that I absolutely love, that not everyone moves through life asking, am I doing all I can do? Am I becoming all I can become? Or am I settling, excuse me, settling for what I've been given? Can you talk a little bit more about that mindset specifically?
Well, as you're asking the question, my first thought is it's from a selfish perspective, because we all universally have this experience, but my experience is it's my first time doing life.
Oh, I love that.
It is.
Yeah.
It's my first time doing life. I don't know what I have in me, and I don't know what is in store for me. Now, that's a universal experience, but it's something that I think that is an awareness of the reality that we live in, like that I have constantly. Um, and it's hard for me to envision, or in the past, it has been hard for me to envision uh, limitless potential.
Mm.
And the only way that I've been able to take solace in that over the course of the last decade plus that I've been a professional in my field, the only way that I've been able to take solace in that is through the experience of conquering and through the
Mm.
experience of doing.
Mm.
If I didn't try, then I would have no clue that I had the ability to move from cruise ships to New York City, and
Yeah.
move from a small fish in a giant pond of Manhattan to taking on the lead of a national tour of a currently running Broadway show out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I would have had no idea that I could do these things.
Yeah.
But what gives me solace at this point in my life, now at 33, is the fact that I've seen myself level up and level up and level up. So now I view things as a challenge. What more can I do? I get excited about the question as opposed to feeling like I don't know what I'm doing and I should stick with where I know, with things that I know.
Wow.
Okay.
What do you think are some of the lies that people learn about dreams and success and, that statement of when people tell you to just be realistic? Do you think some people stop too early because they confuse comfort with completion?
Wow. You're dropping gems. They confuse comfort with completion. I think that's definitely something that I see people settle into, and exactly the habit or bad pattern that you could fall into. I don't want to say bad, but that is absolutely the habit that people get comfortable with and fall into. And I think that the world has many oppressors around you. And I definitely could have listened to people who probably did tell me, I'm in the right spot, or I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing when I was working somewhere smaller or in a smaller pond. And I do think at that time that I was doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing. I just didn't know that with life, there are so many years ahead of you. There is so much time. And if you cut yourself off early, it's like cutting off a limb. Now I'm stuck, but yeah, it's cutting off a limb. It's really stunting your own growth. And I think you talk so much about dreams, and when I was younger, I think never really allowed myself to have large scale dreams because I was so upset prematurely with the idea of not being able to accomplish them. And the push to keep going, to keep seeing where I'll end up, I think the constant question of what if I surprised myself? What if I actually made it to this next level in my life? Is what keeps me knocking at those doors and going, I'm not going to stop.
That's beautiful, babe. So amazing. I know you're my daughter and I talk to you. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna have to get closer to the mic. That's beautiful, babe. So amazing. I know you're my daughter and I talk to you all the time, but this is such a interesting experience because I'm just hearing like a different, we don't talk like this in the interview format. So I feel like I'm getting to see a different side of your mind. Oh gosh. Okay, you talked about going from touring to Broadway. So I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about that. Will you take us through that journey from being on tour to actually landing on Broadway? And what did that climb require emotionally and mentally, not just professionally?
So when I was on tour, when I joined the tour of Book of Mormon at the end of 2017, it was a complete shock to me. When I got the audition, I wanted to take myself out of the running because I thought I was maybe there by mistake. When I ended up getting the job, I wanted to take myself out of the running because I thought this was, again, a mistake, something too large for my skill set and what I knew. I thought I had so much more to learn, but I was chosen. So I pursued that. And there was a lot that I had to learn and navigate as a young woman out on the road. And a huge part of that was my own mental health. And I struggled with my mental health for a year and a half. And this was a time pre-pandemic, um, pre me being on medications for my mental health that aid me, pre me being in talk therapy that aids me. So I did not know at that time that those tools were something that I needed and something that I was going to go on to develop. And so I was just kind of free floating, figuring things out on my own. And it was extremely difficult. But then you jump to this time. We all have this collective experience of experiencing the pandemic, which was such a whirlwind of self-discovery and rediscovery, I think, for everyone. And in my case, it gave me a lot of insular time to figure out what I needed to tweak in order to become the success that I wanted to become. I think at that time I had been living in New York for nearly 5 years. I'd just taken this leap of getting a space on my own, an apartment on my own, and not having roommates. And I'd just gotten my pet, my first cat. And I kind of looked at my success as, or the future of my success as, this is going to sound so like early human or primal, but it was very much like I have to provide for my household. And I knew that in this industry that the only way I was going to be able to provide for my household in a proper way was to make more money, which was to make that leap of getting onto Broadway. And that required me finding some courage and faith in myself. And so, again, through community, I ultimately learned that I probably should start talk therapy. Talk therapy changed my life. And then through talk therapy, I kind of learned about my own anxiety and my own depression and how those things halted me in my pursuit of a life in theater and a career in theater. And so then I started going to a psychiatrist and got my own personal prescription of happy pills, and figured out what works best for me in order for me to function and believe in my own success and have my own confidence when I'm out in the world. And I think that transition quickly turned over to my career on Broadway. Within a year of me having clarity through medication, I kind of found my purpose, and I went on to that next year, join my first Broadway show, and kind of keep rolling from there. I've been on Broadway the last 4 years straight, and I've always had confidence at this point in my ability to do exactly what I'm doing right now.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I'm so proud of you.
Hold on one second, Mom, because Colin is now down here and he's definitely about to grind his coffee.
Oh, Lord.
I know. He just poured his beans into the thing. Grind your coffee, honey. We're doing an interview.
I told your dad that I was doing a podcast, and he just comes and just casually strolls by, opens up the door, which goes ding, 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 and just like nothing. I don't know. It just, he was just
I was literally just trying to focus, and Colin poured beans into the grinder. I'm like, no way are you about to continue with this. No way. Can you hear it?
Yes, I can.
He was just about to hit that while I was talking. Take a deep breath before you start.
What would you say to the person listening right now who is talented in their interests or in their field? Because this talk is not just for artists, it's for everyone who has a voice telling them that there's more out there for them, for people who are not just talented, but capable or called, but they've gotten used to where they are. They don't have to be miserable. Maybe they're even doing well in life, but deep down, they know there's another level. What would you say to them?
Well, I you added on the part of deep down they know that there's another level. I would that is the key, I believe. I echo my earlier sentiment of this is our first time and our first chance at living a life, and uh, you have to really take into account the amount of time, the amount of years that we have ahead of us. And are you going to really cut yourself off at 25 and go, I'm useless and I'm not meant for anything else, and live till 80 and not experience the life that you maybe could have had? I think that's always been the key for me. Is I asked myself, I have a very clear memory of me at 16 years old, um, kind of dealing with my coming to reckoning with my anxiety and my depression, undiagnosed at that time, and saying to myself, I don't have the energy to keep fighting for life, and then having a switch at a point of, but what if?
Mm,
And I think that has been the drive that has kept me going my entire life since I was
mm,
16 years old. Now doubled over. I'm 17 years older than that now, and that has been the driving force always. It's just
mm,
been, what if I did? What if I made it? What if
mm,
I uh, um, pushed myself just a little bit further to see who I become? And I think that's the key to life. And not that I can tell anyone the key to life, but the key to my life is continuously asking myself that question of, what if I could be more? And as a passenger to my own life, sitting in kind of the passenger seat and watching
mhm,
myself, I want to see myself grow into more. And
mm,
I look for that discovery, and I take interest in the fact that I'm a blooming flower, so
mm,
to speak,
mhm,
which sounds very poetic, but that's the
mhm.
truth of it.
I love it. I love that. Sometimes people think that dreaming means rejecting where you are, but that's not what this talk is about. It's about respecting where you are and learning what life has to teach you and still being true enough to your inner spirit to ask if there's more.
Yeah.
Um, okay, baby butterfly, last question. Do you think what's next is a pressure question or a freedom question? Because I think some people might hear that question and feel judged, but I've always heard that question as an invitation, and I believe you did too. At least as your mom, I hope that's how
Hmm.
you heard it, because I never wanted you to think that I wasn't proud of
Hmm.
exactly where you were. But what does that question mean to you now?
Well, it is both a freedom and pressure question. And I think it's a healthy dose of both. You asking me that question, again, a question that I don't think I had the ability to ask myself at that time, um, required me, a maybe small dreamer or a person seeking constant comfort, to uh, expand and to grow. And I think that's a good challenge to constantly give yourself. If you feel lost in life, you at least have, that's something that's someone can never take away from you, is
Mhm.
that question of, what else can I do? Um, and I think that's the constant pursuit. So yeah, it is definitely freedom. It is definitely pressure. And there is so much discovery within that. And that doesn't mean that it's going to be fun the entire way, but it does mean that you don't want to stay stagnant. You want to discover your full potential. And I'm sounding like a life coach, but as I'm talking to you, I'm realizing that these are the principles that I kind of guide myself on
Yes.
when I'm lost.
Yeah. Kayla, thank you. I love this conversation so much, and I just feel so fortunate to be able to share this life with you and to call you my daughter. I'm
Mhm.
so proud of you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mommy.
And for everybody listening, I want to clearly state what I think is so powerful here. The lie is not always, you can't do it. The lie can be softer than that. The lie can sound like, this is probably enough. I've also heard people wrestle with decisions about their future and talk themselves out of it with thoughts like, I don't want to risk messing up something good, or most people never make it this far anyway. But what I hope you hear today is this: you are allowed to celebrate a season without calling it your final destination. You're allowed to appreciate where you are and still ask if there is more available for you. You're absolutely allowed to learn, grow, master something, and then say, okay, now what's next? I don't think that this is being ungrateful or arrogant. I think that's vision. And you all have to remember, sorry, I'm just totally drawing a blank. And you all have to remember that everyone is, sorry, I don't like this. And I need you to remember this. Everyone is not going to understand that. And then you have to be okay with that. If there is a deeper level in you, if there is more life in you, more potential in you, more impact in you, more joy in you, then I do not want you confusing comfort with completion. That is a word for somebody. Just because it's good does not mean it's finished. You can keep growing. You can keep making it better. And you can keep dreaming. All right, let's take this home. This might be the only time you fully breathe all week right here with me. So we are going to keep on breathing together, right here together. Are you ready? Get comfortable, get loose. All right. Take a deep breath in. Hold it. Now let it all the way out, beyond what you even think you can exhale. Let it all the way out. Again, take a deep breath in. Hold it. Now all the way out. Let's reset. Calmly say to yourself, I am allowed to grow. I am allowed to outgrow a season. I do not have to settle in a place that was only meant to prepare me. Now name the place in your life where you may have settled. Where have you been calling something fine because you were a little afraid to ask for more? Is it your work or your creative life? Your standards? Your relationships? Or maybe it was your sense of what is possible. Name that place. Now we're going to shift just one thought in our mindset. Let's take this thought I should be grateful and stay where I am. Let's shift it to I can be grateful for what I have and still grow. We can also try this new thought. This season taught me something, but it is not the end of me. Choose one of those thoughts and let it sink into your mind. Now we're going to build to the next level by 1%, and we're going to start by asking ourselves, what have I mastered? What have I already figured out? What have I outgrown? What might be next for me? Write down one answer, not the whole life plan, just one answer to that question. Let's take the next step by saying within 24 hours, I will explore what's next for me by, and then fill in the blank with something that is applicable to you. It could mean writing down what you want in life, or promising yourself that you're going to research some path that you feel is calling you to explore. You could start by making one phone call to a person who has told you, when you're ready, I'm here, reach out. You could have an honest conversation with someone who is already doing something that you're interested in doing. How about just admitting the truth to yourself that you're ready for something more? Or you could revisit a dream that you set down because you thought it was out of your reach. It doesn't have to be something big, it just has to be something that you can do. Sometimes the next chapter begins with the moment you stop pretending that you don't know there should be a next chapter, and that is a gigantic step. Here are our affirmations for this week, and as always, you can use these or you can create your own. But I want you to spend some time this week sitting with these affirmations and letting them take root in your mind, your spirit, your soul. I am allowed to grow. I am allowed to want more. I am allowed to acknowledge where I have been without staying there forever. And I am brave enough to ask the question, what's next? And here's the prompt I want you to think about this week. It would be really powerful if you wrote it down and journaled about it. But if all you're ready for is just to think about it and have the question circling in your mind, that's fine too. I want you to think about this prompt for the week. Where in my life have I mistaken comfort for completion? That's the question. Sit with it, because your answer just may be the doorway to your next chapter. If you felt like I was talking directly to you in this episode, I want you to spend a few quiet minutes with that question, what's next? And remember that we're not asking this question from a place of panic or pressure. We're asking this question from a place of purpose and possibility. Write down what you've already mastered, what you may have outgrown, and what your next chapter might be asking of you. And if you're walking through this season with me, make sure that not only have you followed this podcast so that you're alerted every time a new one comes out, but that you've also downloaded your free copy of In the Meantime, Hope, Healing, and Survival for the Tired Heart. The link is right inside the show notes that go along with this episode, because this is exactly the kind of work that helps you move from surviving to becoming. And I'll see you in the next episode, where we will continue to protect our hope and get our dreams in motion.